Maybe you just can't stop yourself.
I don't want to stop.
What's going on, everyone? It's Sam. Welcome back to the channel. Today I have once again some interesting Daredevil news, and this time it comes directly from Charlie Cox himself. I'm going to be breaking down how this could actually be taken two ways, if he meant he's a very similar variant, or if it now just means that because it takes place in the MCU, would it just be a new take on the character completely. For years and years, fans have been discussing the complexity of MCU canon, and many believe that all the Netflix properties are directly canon. But Charlie Cox just last week at Comic-Con in Abu Dhabi said that his take on the Daredevil character in the MCU is a reimagined version of his old character. So let's take a listen.
You really wanted that season 4. Do you think where you wanted the character to go then is the place you want the character to go now? Like, how was that time off? How did you understand the material differently?
I don't think it makes sense to pick up where we left off. In keeping with a lot of things in the MCU right now, where there's this alternate reality kind of thing going on. You know, there's been a few years have passed, and now, I don't know, it's Daredevil, but maybe it's not quite, it's reimagined, it's slightly different. You know what I text one of my friends when I found out this is all happening? It's born again. So, you know, the sky's the limit, let's see.
To reiterate him into what he talked about very closely, he related it to a variant version. Charlie said that some time has passed, and because of that, it doesn't really make sense to pick off where they left off, especially in the grand scheme of the MCU. And this is exactly what I spoke about in my last video. My take was that it would be a soft reboot, reimagined and placed within the MCU, but this takes it a bit further. Not only will this be a fresh start in a way, it could appear that these are just very similar alternate variants of the characters. Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios are going to bring back all of the characters, probably hint at references with Easter eggs, and use some of the same story background, because he would be a very similar variant, but he wouldn't be 110% identical. And this honestly doesn't change much. The fact that Charlie Cox is back as Daredevil anyway, Vincent D'Onofrio is back as Kingpin, and all the actors for Karen Page and Foggy are likely returning, then it truly is the same Daredevil show that we saw, just with the MCU's take on it. The biggest clue that let me know this changed right away was the Wilson Fisk and Eleanor Bishop working relationship in Hawkeye. There's even a deleted scene from 2012 showing their relationship, meaning by the events of Hawkeye it's been over 10 years of them working together, which of course wasn't even referred to in Daredevil. Of course, you could just say that it didn't exist or it's something that could be swept under the rug and put aside. Now, Vincent did say he played Wilson just as he would have in the show, so this is just more clarity towards the situation. It's exactly like Charlie Cox described it. Time has passed, the blip has affected everything. It's a fresh start in reimagining of what happened on the Netflix shows within this larger universe now. We never needed 100% full canon, and this is truly the best option to go. Like I said, I think we will get some small story overlap from before, but where the story will focus on and going forward is in the present and the future of the MCU. So not only will it be about how the universe can affect them, but now how they can affect the universe in full capacity. How can Wilson Fisk be a crime lord in New York? All of these things make sense now. The most interesting difference though will be, has Fisk and Matt met yet? Now we're getting the Echo series next year, and it actually starts filming in April, and yes, Kingpin is still alive, we don't need to get into that debate. Matt is also showing up at least in lawyer form within She-Hulk, and of course we know that they're developing a new Daredevil series, so everything is on the table now. It's not only going to be limited to MCU story going forward, but most likely will be. If you want, go check out my most recent video where I explain this a little bit more in depth, the link is in the description. In general, when Marvel doesn't want any continuity issues though, their plan is to just kind of stay away from it. Anything that can be used in against continuity or anything that can break the timeline is immediately tossed to the side. They done this by recasting Rhodey by just not mentioning it even though it was just an actor swap, and even simpler things like not even mentioning any connectivity with Agent Coulson being alive in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., another Netflix property where the MCU used zero connections after season 1. As for other Netflix properties, Jon Bernthal said he would love to return if the conditions were right, and I do expect the actor for Luke Cage to return as well. We'll be seeing Jessica Jones very soon also, possibly this year if the leaks are correct, but I'm assuming Iron Fist will get a full recast and a full reimagination connected to the Shang-Chi and Seven Heavenly Cities corner of the MCU that they will likely tackle in the sequel. Now if Iron Fist does get a recast, it truly does nullify any canonically proven connectivity whatsoever because they all came together in Defenders. Unless they go the Rhodey tactic again, but times are also way different from 2010, that was the MCU's third movie where small details to fans didn't matter as much. But 30 plus projects later, it's an issue Marvel Studios will want to stay away from. That's why what Charlie Cox has said makes the most sense, and the direction they are taking it in is the best interest for the characters and the universe. You could very well argue that he also means nothing in terms of being variants, but rather it's just a reimagining with their exact stories in history, just more so not mentioned. This is the side that I lean, and it's why I call it a half reboot, because of the multiverse events happening, which is what Charlie explains. It really doesn't make sense now that all this time has passed, and now they kind of just go back and revisit such a grounded small scale story that Daredevil had in relation to what the MCU does now and how big the universe is getting. In a way, you could relate this to Thor and Ragnarok. Thor was reimagined and in a way reborn, like Charlie alludes to in this interview for his Daredevil. His story still matters, but everything moving forward was changed with new writing and a comedic style for the character rather than a Shakespearean pretty boy. So I'm really excited to get more information about this, and maybe one day Marvel Studios will just come out and tell people, so we'll see. But let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on this whole canon versus not canon conversation. You can follow me on Twitter at AnotherMarvelG, and if you like Marvel, the MCU, comics, and everything in between, subscribe to the channel and drop a like. Other than that, I just want to say thank you. I'm another Marvel guy, and I'll catch y'all in a blip.